Hey, John. I think it's too much. I do. I think it's too much. It's just, let's back down. You know how I love doing this, right? Let's back down and just take a look at what's going on. Now, right now, you've got three very distinct and different areas of the page. And then we can even see that. I mean, we don't even have to look at the type to see that. You got that top with the dark background. You got that very colorful middle. You got the bottom with the white background. So they're enough visually different that they can almost seem unrelated. So that's a concern, and I think I do. I don't think it's working, John. Let's take a look at the typography, and then I'll give you my suggestion. Typographically, you've done a smart thing. You've reversed the type. You're using white, and you've used a good, wide, generous leading, and you've also opened up your kerning. So that's good, smart typography. My issue are two things. Number one is the bold type. Number two are your rags. The bold type is just too much. It's just too much. It's almost jarring to look at that stark white against that black. I mean, at the very least, I would screen that back to a very light 60% black. Something even lighter, 30%. Something that'll help that type recede as opposed to pushing all the way forward and almost in an aggressive way. And that bold type certainly doesn't help that argument. And then the rags themselves, I think, are really, they're unattended. I mean, you can definitely tell. You've got a shape that goes like this, and then jumps out like that, and then jumps out like that again. And over here, you can see you've got this kind of pattern that goes like this. It goes whoop like that, and then it jumps in, and it goes whoop like that. So you're definitely seeing these patterns. In general, this is going whoop, and you can clearly see it when you look at this shape of this negative space here. So your lines are really short, which is kind of really destroying your right margin on the left column, and it's really doing some strange things with that negative space created by the gutter. I would definitely attend those rags. And then over here you've got this right here is this shape right here, that where it indents like that. And you can, again, just look at that negative shape right there. Rags, long, short, long, short. Not so you notice them, but I mean, this isn't too bad right here at all. That's first 7 lines or 8 lines. Not bad at all, but then it just kind of goes whoop and jumps in there. So if this paragraph ended right there, those rags would be okay, though that line's a little bit long. And though I think it's a little odd to start something in a parentheses and continue it on the next line, I would definitely try to work that into one line. No orphans or widows, no hyphens, good job. Other than that, it's set pretty well, okay? But, and then this is just, it's too visually overwhelming. It really is. Again, it's almost the word jarring almost comes to mind. You really don't want, you want your viewer to be able to settle into this like somebody settles into a cup of tea in a newspaper. So, and I don't see that happening right now. I just see the viewer going, oh, okay, all right, and then looking at this and almost going, okay, all right. I hope I'm making sense. Instead of it sinking in and saying, okay, this is what we want to do. We want to look at this, and we want to look at the timeline. Then maybe we'll ease back over to the type, and then we'll find something in the type, and we'll go, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's in the timeline. So we can ease back to the timeline. Right now, we can't do that because you got this big fence between the two. So it's really difficult to try to do that. Now, I've got a couple of recommendations, and I'm just going to go ahead and say that I think, like I said, this is too much. I think this timelines, it's good, but the timeline itself, you've got this problem. I know I mentioned this last week, and this is a problem. If your art director is going to look at you and say, John, why do we need a timeline if you have these numbered like this? That doesn't make any sense. Why do you need this? It doesn't help. It's not doing anything. It's not helping. That's why I'm saying, let's redesign the back using this graph paper for the whole thing. If you're gonna, it's hard for me to say this because I don't know what you're going to be doing with the front. So that's difficult. This as a single composition, I would say get rid of the black background. Use the graph paper for the whole thing. Get rid of the color type, and just do your timeline like this. There's a year, Okay, instead of really your year is so tiny there that maybe you could just even give a year here. And then you remember how you wanted to do your handwritten thing? Why don't you use that type for your timeline? And but you would have to reassemble it, so you go one and then an arrow, not an arrow, but a line down here, and then it says one, and then it says born in Java. Okay, then two, maybe a line over here or a line over here. Just like a doctor's notes, like if they were going through this and circling this area and writing notes down there. Look back to your original idea. Okay, again, I don't know how this is going to work. Maybe this could tip a hat to history in the way that they used to do things, and the front could maybe represent modern day EKG, ECG. I think that would be a very interesting take to make the back more historical, the front more modern. And that would certainly alleviate a lot of the problems that I just mentioned in terms of this being a black background, this being a white background, this being a graph, this being a color, three-dimensional type thing. Okay, so those would be my recommendations. You're doing great. I mean, you haven't done anything wrong at all. I mean, I'm just trying to get this thing really worked out to the point where it can fit very well into your student portfolio in a way that it answers its own questions, so to speak. Just notice one other thing here. Watch your margins. This margin is basically, this margin is twice as wide as this margin here. So you want to watch that. Okay. Other than that, all right. Any questions at all? Give me a holler. Good job, John. Thank you.